What's up, superheroes? Miles here. This morning I wanted to talk with you about an album that I have that is having its 10th birthday this year. That's the Beautiful Place album that I released back in 2014. Back then it was a 3-song EP consisting of the title track Beautiful Place, and then there was Don't Stop and Where the Sky Meets the Sea. Now, Beautiful Place was sort of a vision that I had had, and that was a song that was really intentional, and it was exactly what it sounds like. I sort of described the process of reclaiming my vision of a beautiful place, of living in a beautiful world. Something that I think a lot of us lose a little bit along the way because life kind of beats it out of us. So that song sort of was a capturing of that. I don't know, maybe I had just stepped into fatherhood, so I wonder if maybe, that gave me the ability to reflect. Actually, just right now that occurred to me. But yeah, that was a pretty big, like, existential song for me. The next track, Don't Stop, was intended to be more of an exercise. I believe Ed Sheeran had this one song out at the time. I can't think of the name of it, but it had a particular vibe to it. And every now and again, I'll hear something as an artist, and I'll be like, "Oh, I like that. That's a pretty cool thing that artist did." And so I'll be like, "Well, what if that's a neat toy that they're using? A neat technique or whatever? I want to just play with it and see what happens to mine." So if I think of the song, I'll post it somewhere or whatever. But anyway, so I got in the studio, had a 6-pack of beers. It was late night one evening, and I just sort of played around, and I came up with this idea of like a scene from a movie where and maybe I'll put it into a music video. Probably have to get a little bit of a budget going on the Patreon before I can make this into a video. But the vision was that I would love to do it when we can. The idea was that you sort of follow these two people. They maybe meet at like a hotel bar, like a classic cinema meet cute kind of thing, and then they have like this like instant connection and a ravenous love affair that borders on the line of like a little raunchy, a little like in a fun way, but then also it's sort of like the idea that you just sort of really let loose and have fun with this passion and sensuality and sexuality. And so you go through the whole video and you follow these two characters, and it's this very fun, choreographed, sensual, sexy kind of thing. And then by the end of it, there's a twist. I don't want to give away the twist because, well, and it's not like we're not pulling a M. Night Shyamalan here. It's not like that big of a twist. But there's a little bit of a twist at the end. I'll save that for you guys. So that one, as a songwriter, though, at the time, I was still working through, I guess, a youthful element of my songwriting journey, which is that when I was younger, I could sense that there were things that were wrong with the world, and from where I was sitting at the time, from my perspective at the time, it seemed a little bit like, well, I even talk about it in a different song, in the sense of like, I felt like I looked around and like everything was starting to really unravel. This was back in the before times, but I think this would have been back in the early 2000s. But like, I just sensed that, something was wrong in the world, and I felt like I was like, oh, I feel like we got to do something. We got to be better at this humaning thing. And I felt like I was trying to sort of like, I felt like I ended up shouting into a void, and so you get this sensation, like you want to go rattle people and be like, hey, wake up, something's wrong, world's on fire. Let's do something about it. And so my emotional response to that over time became such that I found myself really digging into subjects and studying on things, and then finding, I was having difficulty connecting with people to be able to like have meaningful conversation or progress about it. And so as an artist, what that meant was my outlet for that was being provocative, right? And so at the time, in this case, one of the things that I was picking up on was sort of the sexual repression of our culture. And so, since the whole theme of the song was sort of the antithesis to that, at the time, I wanted to push it a little further and be edgy with it. So I used language in the song that I left in the recording. So if you listen to it, you can hear it, but there was language in the song that I don't use now, because even though technically the language I was using fit for what the song is intended to be, I was sort of going for maybe a Pretty Woman, what's her name? Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman, that kind of vibes. And yet now when I perform the song, I have adjusted the language so that it is not so provocative, because I wanted to still capture the spirit of the cool thing, but without trying to slap somebody in the face with it. And so that's how I've grown as an artist in the last 10 years. And so it's been really fun looking back on this album, because of that, things like that. And so then the last song that I had on the track at the time, or on the EP, was Where the Sky Meets the Sea. And this was a really sort of a sweet love song that is not really about specifically anyone, but really is a capturing of some emotional experiences I was having at the time that I noticed were sort of a part of a larger cycle, in life. And so then, excuse me. So I tried to capture this. There was a sweetness to it. I was playing around musically at the time, I was trying to, I had just gotten a ukulele, and I was trying to do sort of creative experimental things with the ukulele, something different. And so I was sort of playing with this idea that the song talks about a sailor, and so I wanted there to, a sailor and a bird, and I wanted the song musically to sound like the rhythm of it almost like a peg leg, like a pirate walking around on a deck with a peg leg, to represent the sailor. And then there was this beautiful airy refrain that I did just twice in the song, and the intention was to sort of capture the bird, sort of, and at the time I don't know that I consciously thought of that, but now looking back on it, that was what I was doing. So anyway, that was it was just really cool to recently sit back and look at, oh wow, I did all these songs, and now 10 years later, I'm working on a new album called Hymns of the New World with my new band, Real Life Superheroes, with my partner and midwife Audrey. And so Beautiful Place is actually, we're doing a new version of it to fit into this new album, Hymns of the New World, because Hymns of the New World is sort of a concept album too, like Tommy or American Idiot or something like that, right? So that gave me sort of, because we're using the song in a new way, it gave me an opportunity to go back. Not only has it been 10 years, not only am I doing new projects, but with some of the old stuff, but also there's new context and new meaning, and the song has evolved, and the story has evolved since then. So with Hymns of the New World, Audrey helped me discover that as I was looking back on my body of work, there was a little bit of a story I was telling the whole time that I wasn't fully aware of. And so putting that together, there was a new picture, Hymns of the New World. Super excited to share that one with you guys. So actually, I'm ready to start working on recording that right now. Well, in the next week or two. And so to close out the retrospective on Beautiful Place EP, recently I have now made my music all available on the Lovecore Patreon page for $5. So I have Beautiful Place, Walking Through the Fire, Satellites, and Right Here and Right Now, plus all of the real life superhero stuff like Umbrella, Learning to Fly. I got Juicebox on there. Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff on there. But Beautiful Place is one of the albums that's on there. And that one, and it's all for $5. So you can just go to the Patreon page and it's $5 either once or per month or whatever. And that helps me do what I'm doing. And I got all this stuff on there. And when I put Beautiful Place in the vault, that's how we keep it up. There's like a vault. I think of it like a treasure chest. So I just keep putting like, oh, we made a cool thing. I put it in there every now and again. So I like just filling up the vault. It's a sort of a fun thing for me as a creator. So, to sort of celebrate this re-release of the EP that we did to put everything on the vault, I added one more song to the album. And so on the re-release, the fourth song is called Soulfly. And this one is a banger. It's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written and produced. And this one I wrote back in, I want to say like 2005, and I didn't record it till 2014. And it's an interpretation of the song that's not quite accurate. There are a couple of musical changes that I'll be making next time I get a chance to record it. But part of the reason I'm so proud of it, for one, is just there was a lot going on. It's a really busy song. But I was programming the drums for it, and I did there were a couple of slick moves that I did with the drum machine. It took a lot of crafting to get it to sound like that. But basically I custom designed the drums to more or less perfectly go with all the music. And so when you're doing a really complex, sophisticated song like that, the drums, you can't just be like, oh, set a beat and then go. Some songs are like that, and that's great, but this wasn't one of those. So I really took my time. Like, there's a big decrescendo at the end of the song, and so I worked that in, and a big finish that sounds like there's a real drummer. I don't know. You know what? If you get a chance to listen to it, you guys will have to let me know how well I did it. But I've always liked it, so pretty proud of that one. But more than that, the song is just really fun to perform. It's, and so I'm excited to get that one back in the mix too. We'll be performing that out at some of the shows that we're doing with real life superheroes. So I'm excited about getting to bring a lot of the stuff back, and we're working on brand new stuff. There's new songs that none of you guys have ever heard before, unless you've maybe, heard me do a practice round or something like that on Insta. But that Hymns of the New World album has one brand new song and one other song that I wrote back in 2020 that I didn't get like a wide release or anything. A wide release for me, indie artist, And actually the recording that I made for that other one was kind of lost forever. So when we redo this new version, that'll be sort of the definitive version up to this point. And so, yeah, Beautiful Place, 10 years later. There's a lot more I want to say about it, but I feel like we'll probably put that on the podcast. Audrey and I have had to do a little bit of a rebrand and rebuilding some of what we're doing. So it's taken us a minute to sort of get everything back up off the ground again. We had a little setback earlier this year. So, now that we got through most of that, I get to start diving back into this stuff, and I'm so excited. So thanks for hanging out with me and going on this journey. And, basically the whole deal here is that I've got all of this music available. I try to make it available for $5, so that it's accessible to everyone. But it's not just the music on there. We also have downloadable music videos. There's going to be other things like, just like extras and stuff on there. But it makes a huge difference for me. The Patreon in particular is a great way for me to like give a lot of value, but also, $5 a month, if we get, bunch of people just tossing in a little bit every month, that it really adds up, makes a big difference, and it frees me up to be able to invest the time to to record the new album, or to make a music video that we've been wanting to make, or to be able to, and this is my favorite part, is to be able to sort of put on more of our fundraising events. As it is right now, it's a little slower of a process, just because right now things are new, and as a result, there's not a lot of capital, so we have to be really picky and choosy about the projects that we start up. But as that shifts, we'll be able to do all kinds of cool things. So I'm looking forward to sort of building up from here. But I feel like we got a great start so far. And if you guys do get a chance to pick up the album, it's also available for sale on the Patreon too for $10. But if you join the Patreon thing, then it's $5 cheaper. So if you get a chance to hop onto the Patreon and you listen to the album, I would love to hear what y'all think. And that's about it. Thanks for going on that tour with me. And I guess I'll see you next time.